Folks, it's finally just about to happen.
You're Locked On the Hockey Jets, your daily podcast on the Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey friends, and welcome to tonight's episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Harrison Lee, an avid Winnipeg Jets fan and an online blogger. You can follow me on Twitter at HLivingLoco and at LO_Winnipeg Jets. Thanks for making Locked On Jets your first listen of the day every day. If you enjoy what you're hearing, be sure to like, follow, and subscribe on all of your favorite podcasting platforms and YouTube. Doing so, of course, is always free of charge and ensures you never miss another episode. Most of all, though, we just love and appreciate your support. Tonight's episode, obviously, we are coming off the back of really one of the most important games in franchise history. And as the Jets have done so many times this season, they have risen above expectations. They've really delivered their A game in ways that I don't think people really anticipated them doing time and time again this season. But really, when you think about it, this Dallas game is a culmination of everything that they've been building towards the last couple of months. The Jets have been playing increasingly strong 5v5 hockey, and I really feel like this game is just a reflection of that. And yet it means so much more, right? Because it's not just what is happening on the ice. It's what it means to the team when you are coming into a game where this could frankly decide not only who wins the Central, who wins the West, but it might also push the Jets to win the President's Trophy. This is one of the most pivotal moments of a season that Winnipeg has had in a long time, and I know that there have been other games of relative importance, some of them, on the level of this, but I really feel like for what this game means and for what it shows that the Jets are ready to take the next step in being that next level team, that true cup contender. This game, I feel like, reflects their maturity and their growth as a franchise. This team has been used to a lot of disappointment over the years, and we know that, unfortunately, it's led to a lot of short playoff runs. But this team, I don't know, man. I got a real different feeling about it. This squad feels like it is just built differently, whether it's mentally, whether it's performance-wise. There is something about this team that feels like it is ready for the next stage of whatever this franchise is supposed to become. But let's talk about Winnipeg versus Dallas. As you probably can guess, this game was yet another drubbing of one of Winnipeg's biggest division rivals. Dallas got shut out 4-0, and it's the first time this year that Dallas has been shut out. The Stars do not really find themselves on the losing end of many of these kinds of games. In fact, the Jets really just sat there and pissed them off for about 60 minutes. Obviously, it wasn't like a clean defensive clinic. The Jets had some puck management issues early, and Dallas did get a couple of good looks, but let's be honest, right? Dallas does still have a lot of talent. Yes, their blue line is tragic, but their forward core is still pretty decent. And Dallas's forwards at times did create a couple of good looks. But after a penalty kill about, midway through the game on a bit of a shifty one, right at the end of the first period into the second period, this one really wasn't a penalty in my mind, but somehow, Ehlers got called for slashing. I was really not thrilled with that call. But once the penalty was killed off, the Jets just took over the game, and they never really looked back. At that point, Winnipeg was just in control. And yes, the Stars would get a couple of good looks here and there, but for the most part, the Jets were the ones controlling this game really from top to bottom. And it wasn't just one line that had a really good outing. Basically, everyone across the board was pretty darn good. It started off with an early first period goal. Actually not an early one, I would say an early game goal, but it was towards the end of the first period. Niederreiter had a great tip deflection. I was actually thinking right before the goal that he had been overdue a little bit for some sort of a score sheet marker. Here he gets a great deflection for his 16th of the year. And then in the second period after the PK, Morgan Barron really just continues to show that his move back to center has been a blessing for him. He steams in, repeats what he did against St. Louis, and scores a beautiful individual goal. And then in the third period, remember how I was talking about the CSI line really needing to stay together? I think this was another textbook example, right? Connor was in the offensive zone, has a really bad turnover. It leads to a counter against. Luke Shen comes along the half wall and wins a board battle, but the star skater still gets the puck away. And guess who's in the slot? Alex Iafallo. He read it perfectly, timed the pickoff, got the pass, and sprung Connor and Scheifele. Scheifele, I think, may have gotten a touch on the puck to kind of get it over to Connor, who was basically coming down Main Street, dead center, no one near him, and he scores the third goal to basically break the Stars' back. And then not too long after that, off of a crazy redirected pass from Jarrett Anderson-Dolan, which, by the way, I'm not actually sure he touched the puck, but it was such a good move anyways that I really feel like he does deserve the assist. He redirected or at least did enough to sort of mask the pass to where Kyle Connor had a wide open opportunity. He makes it 4-0. And from there, the Jets just stifled the life out of Dallas. This, from front to back, was another great game. The Jets, once again, have really shown the Central Division who's really in charge here. And with that, they are now 1 point away from winning the Central. This is a tremendously big milestone for the Jets. It is something that we really don't ever see from this team. And I'm telling you, man, I really feel like this year is starting to feel like it is a team of destiny moment. Look, anything can happen in the postseason. Things have happened that have derailed some of the biggest seasons from teams. We've had it happen to the Jets before in 17-18, but something about this season just doesn't feel the same. I don't know what it is, but there's something in the water in Winnipeg, and they are seriously cooking in a way that is balanced across so many different levels. Winnipeg isn't just winning from one or two things now. It's really solid contributions from up and down the lineup, from all different parts of the team. And like tonight, we even saw that Stanley and Shen were paired together, which you did have some concerns about. They are not exactly the fastest skaters on the team, and when you pair them together, you do wonder if that's going to be an issue. But in this game, really wasn't. The Jets' forwards and general defensive structure, I think, did a really good job of limiting any issues that they might have had. And overall, this was just a really committed performance. I thought, despite Connor having a 2-goal game, I thought even some of his passes were a little off tonight. He had some rough turnovers, and yet his line mates consistently picked him back up and helped him get back into the action no matter what. In my mind, this game is just yet more evidence that the Jets are starting to really play a brand of hockey that is built for the playoffs. I felt for a while that the Jets really hadn't shown in previous years coming into playoff runs that they were capable of elevating their game to this level. But this is the first season in a while where that's really not been the case. Winnipeg the last few weeks has really shown that all the stuff that they were talking about how to get 5 to 10% better, how to really learn from the mistakes of previous years, and actually become a true playoff threat, I really feel like is actually showing it. This is a team that has come into some of the most imposing barns in the league against some of the hottest teams out there, and frankly embarrassed them. They've taken down the Knights, they've taken down the Stars, the Blues. It doesn't really matter who it is. It's really funny that only some of the non-playoff teams have really given the Jets fits. And usually it's because they've been one of those teams that's played a really fast pace of hockey that has maybe made the Jets a little bit uncomfortable. But for the most part, man, just really not too much to really feel like Winnipeg is vulnerable to. This team is built for postseason hockey. They're showing it. And yet another massive win, a huge shutout, and a big road victory to almost seal the division. It's just one more feather in the cap of an already impressive record for the Winnipeg Jets. But amidst all of this, there was an interesting little comment from Kevin Sawyer, and I'll have to disagree with him here. He was talking about Hellebuyck being a Hart Trophy candidate, and I understand that he was trying to give the team more credit, right? He wants it to be a situation where the rest of the squad gets credit. But let's be real. Connor Hellebuyck is having one of the greatest seasons for a goalie ever. And to not talk about him as a Hart Trophy candidate, I feel, isn't giving him his due. We'll chat about why he really does deserve the trophy this year in just a brief moment. But before we dive into that, did want to let you know about our friends and partners at Bear Mattress.
Do you have trouble sleeping? If so, you're not alone. That used to be me, lacking rest, tossing and turning. I was late for meetings. I never felt like myself. That's until I found Bear Mattress. Bear Mattress and their sleep recovery technology helped me fall asleep faster as well as enjoy deeper sleeps. I felt like myself again, and you can too. Bear Mattress knows that every sleeper is different. That's why they have their sleep quiz on their website that finds you your perfect match. As a side sleeper, I matched with the Elite Hybrid mattress, and I've been telling everyone in my life they have to try Bear Mattress risk-free. You can sleep on your Bear Mattress up to 120 nights, and if you're not getting the best sleep of your life, you can get it refunded. They'll pick it up with absolutely no hassle. So go to bearmattress.com and use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL at checkout to get 40% off site-wide. This offer is not available anywhere else. You have to use my promo code on the very last page of checkout to get this discount. That's bearmattress.com. Use my promo code LOCKEDONNHL for 40% off site-wide. Bearmattress.com, promo code LOCKEDONNHL.
Hey friends, and welcome back to this episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Every day, thank you so much for rejoining us on tonight's episode as we are chatting about, amidst all of the amazing parts of this Jets season, Connor Hellebuyck has really been one of the core hearts of this team. And what's very interesting about him, and yes, I did use Hart unintentionally for the pun, but I think that he really is a Hart candidate this year, and really, for me, a Hart favorite, especially with Draisaitl falling off due to injury, and look, McKinnon's fantastic, but he's also got Cale Makar backing him up. With the Jets, though, yes, you can argue that Winnipeg's defensive structure and everything makes it a core reason that this team is in first place, and that is 100% accurate. But what we are seeing with Connor Hellebuyck has really only been done a couple of times in the history of the NHL. There are only a handful of goalies that have led wins, shutouts, goals against average, and save percentage all in the same season at the same time. It just does not happen. And the last couple of guys to do it all won Stanley Cups that season, which, if you're thinking about the future, that is pretty dang good news. Let's hope that history is cyclical, like they always say. But this year, Hellebuyck, his current stats actually haven't quite updated following the Stars game just yet. But once they do, he'll have 45 wins, which is a career high. He'll have 8 shutouts, also a career high. He'll have something like a 2.01 goals against average. His save percentage should tick up to around 925. That is incredible. No one else really is anywhere close to having numbers in all 4 categories that are equivalent to this. There will be individual players who might come close in terms of save percentage or maybe in shutouts, but having all 4 of these all together, it's not happening. And Hellebuyck has really been, in my mind, the bedrock around which this team gets so much of its confidence from. Year in and year out, he has been one of the primary reasons that the Jets in previous seasons made the playoffs. And what's really incredible about him is that it just doesn't really seem to matter, each year what happens. He has been undeniably one of the most consistent performers on this team. The last 5-ish years, his lowest save percentage was a 910 when, honestly, the Jets defense in front of him was pretty awful. And so, you look at his career numbers, you look at the sort of record that he's accumulated, and somehow this season, he has continued to surpass the expectations placed upon him, his own career expectations, and, he has really led the way for a team that is doing so well. And so for me, I just don't understand how, if you're looking at the best team in the league, you don't give the team's best player the best player award. The Hart Trophy is always controversial, right? Just because sometimes, voters can be a little funky. I don't usually care about individual player awards too much, but I feel like for the Jets, having Connor Hellebuyck get recognized for being really the most valuable player on the team is really just a fair reward for what overall this team has accomplished together. Yes, it is representative of the individual efforts of one particular guy, but, Hellebuyck, I think, would be the first to admit it's a team sport. But, let's be honest, he has performed at levels above his own career standards. He's been immense in net. And I feel like so much of what the Jets have done is because they know that back there they've got the iron wall in net. They trust him to stop almost everything. He has been nigh unbeatable this year. And, his record is ridiculous. His save percentage is ridiculous compared to league average. He has played a load of minutes, more than most other starters, and just continues to perform at a franchise level, goalie level. I mean, you just don't see guys doing what he's doing on a consistent basis. And for me, if you're talking about the MVP award going to the most important player on one of the best teams in the league, I don't see how you don't nominate and vote for Hellebuyck. He should be the Hart Trophy winner. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not, just because voters are always very finicky. Oftentimes this award goes to skaters. Last time it happened for a goalie was Carey Price several years ago. And even by those metrics, Price isn't at the same level as to what Hellebuyck is doing right now. Will the voters see it that way? I doubt it. But I just don't know how you can choose anyone else. Hellebuyck is doing things that we don't really ever see in a season. It's been 30, 40 plus years since the last time somebody has led all 4 statistical categories for a goalie in the same season. It just doesn't happen. And if he doesn't really get it this year, I will probably be really hurting for him. It's not the worst thing ever. Obviously, for the Jets, there are bigger fish to fry, and so you don't want to make that your sole focus. Individual player awards are great and all, but Winnipeg is looking for rings. However, I feel like it would just be another feather in the cap for what has become an incredibly storied career for Hellebuyck. But what is very interesting about this season, and maybe what some voters will kind of look at, is that comparatively speaking, he's faced far fewer shots than some of his previous career seasons. He's had less work to do in some ways, not purely by ice time, but the amount of saves that he's had to make. And so they may look at this and they may say, oh, well, clearly the team is helping him achieve these lofty records. And that might be true in some ways, but you know what? Given that he has continued to set himself apart so far from the rest of the pack in terms of, the save percentage above league average, goals saved above expectation, all that stuff, I just don't buy that as an argument against him. It'd be kind of like saying, does a McKinnon not really deserve it because Makar is there on the ice when they're doing great things together? Do they, cancel each other's excellence out? And that to me is not really true. If either of them want it, I don't really think I would complain too much. But for me, I'm looking at the most valuable player to a franchise right now, and I look at Hellebuyck and I'm like, he's my pick. And I wonder if he is going to become the odds favorite. I think some of the betting sites have picked up on this recently. Past couple of weeks, Hellebuyck has been increasingly showing up as the betting favorite for the Hart Trophy. We really don't ever see a goalie win it. It's extremely rare, but if there was ever a season to see that turn around, this could be the year. What I am very interested in, though, is once you move past the regular season, which version of Hellebuyck will you see? My personal feeling is because the shot volume this year has been considerably lower, I think he's actually going to have a fair bit of rest by his standards heading into the postseason. He hasn't faced as many shots. He's still making a fantastic number of saves. His performance really hasn't dipped too much the last few months. Recently, he's maybe been closer to slightly average-ish by his standards, and really that's all relative. He has still been putting up gaudy numbers, still very clearly one of this team's top performers, and it just seems like he's ready for the playoffs and postseason. I don't think that what we've seen from him in previous playoff runs is going to apply here. I expect him to have a really deep run. I think he's going to have a very good playoff series in the first and perhaps second and beyond rounds. You look at his actual playoff numbers the last several years, and outside of, the 23 and 24 seasons, they actually have been pretty good. He's giving you above a 900 in most of these series. 2021 was a 931 through 2 series. 18-19 was a 913 in, 6 games. 17 games, he had a 922, and 17-18. I kind of feel like the last couple of years have maybe made him seem worse than he really is. But his overall career playoff numbers, 45 games, he's got a 911. So I don't know, man. Maybe there's a little bit of his playoff performance that's been overstated, right? And so I'm hoping that this is the year that he not only wins all of these trophies and stuff, but he finally silences some of the very stupid narratives about him. When we talk about the game being a team game and what's happened with some of Winnipeg's performances the last few years. I feel like if you're going to use the team game argument against him for the Hart Trophy, then you'd better be willing to say the same about why, his playoff numbers have looked as bad as they have. He's not been perfect in these playoff series, don't get me wrong, especially by his standards, but how Winnipeg has played in front of him, especially the past couple of years, has had a much bigger, more outsized impact on his performance than stuff that's wrong with his game. So hoping that this is the year that he proves all the doubters wrong. I feel like it is. I am very excited to see what he does in this upcoming postseason run. He's really, for me, one of the greatest of all time already. It's just a matter of finally getting him the one trophy that would really dispel all the narratives around him. But curious to know if you think he'll be the guy to lead us all the way through. Drop your thoughts and comments below and tell me if you think he does deserve the Hart Trophy. Or if not, give me your other Hart selection. Would be curious to know how you're feeling about that. But in just a brief moment, I did also want to talk about the Jets really being on the precipice of an incredible accomplishment. They are 1 point away from winning the Central. This is an incredible achievement in one of the hardest divisions. In my mind, the hardest division in the hardest conference. The Jets are about to pull off something that is truly special, and I want to chat about that in just a brief moment. But before we do, did want to let you know about our friends and partners at Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. And they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller for longer. Wonderful Pistachios comes in the shelled and no shelled varieties. I actually like the shelled ones. Cracking open a quick little one is very easy. But if you're on the go, maybe you're dropping the kids off, or you're needing an afternoon pick-me-up to beat the 3 p.m. slump, maybe a little protein pack right before you hit the gym, then the no-shelled varieties are also there for you as well. They come in some great seasonings and flavors, and again, super easy to pick up, just a small little pack, and it always comes packed with a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids. So get snacking and get crackin' with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Hey friends, and welcome back to this episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Every day, thank you so much for rejoining us on tonight's episode as we are just wrapping up with some final thoughts on what has been a remarkable season for the Jets. And now they are 1 point away from doing really one of the biggest things in franchise history. They are this close to winning the Central Division and potentially getting one step closer to winning the President's Trophy. The Jets have never won a President's Trophy, so that's obviously a really big deal. We don't really have any division championships. We've come really close to getting to within, the touching distance of winning the division, but the Jets haven't been able to close the deal. And so this is obviously a very special moment in franchise history. The Jets have come a very far way from where they were several years ago, and it just feels like with only 1 point remaining, it's easy for the team to imagine itself maybe dropping a result against Chicago on the weekend, but this team has time and time again risen to the occasion in the games that truly matter this season. And so I feel like, I expect them to come out and shut down Chicago. I expect them to beat them like they have beaten almost every team they've faced the last few weeks, and to do it in an emphatic fashion. I think the Jets are ready to kind of put the regular season behind them. They're all focusing on the playoffs, but they're not going to lose sight of the stuff that matters. And this game and this ability to get your home ice advantage clinched up is going to be very critical. I am interested to see what happens once they do that. If they win this game or at least get a point on the weekend, do we start to maybe see some call-ups, right? Brad Lambert obviously isn't going to be having too much playoff action here for the Moose because Manitoba didn't qualify. So you'll have some opportunities to maybe get him some ice time. Maybe you want to rotate in some kids. Obviously, Nikita Chibrikov is still rehabbing, so he's not going to be available. But maybe some of the other kids that you're looking at, maybe a player who's coming back recently, you'd like to see if maybe they fit your rookie squad or something heading into the postseason. This could be a really good opportunity to maybe rotate a bit rest some of your vets and get some of the guys who haven't had a lot of ice time recently a couple of games, right? I'm looking at Ville Heinola, who hasn't played in months now. Would be great to get him some ice time. I know that he's probably not real happy with the team at the moment, but hopefully, a couple of games here at the end of the season can still get him fresh, maybe make him feel a little bit better. I know that he's probably not long for this team, so getting to see him in the last couple of games for the Jets wouldn't be the worst. I think that there's been some talk of him maybe being a next year player, but I'll be honest, I don't think he really figures into any of Winnipeg's future plans. If anything, he's probably going to be included in a trade sometime in the near future. So we'll just have to live with that. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. As far as the Jets are concerned, the only other thing that they would be looking for outside of the Central Trophy is the President's Trophy. And with the Caps kind of being a little topsy-turvy lately, it has opened the door for Winnipeg to maybe get the first overall ranking. I don't know if that's going to be their focus necessarily. My guess is they will be fighting for that tooth and nail as much as they can. It's not the most important thing for them to win right now, but it would also be a fantastic reward for what has been an incredible season. And so I really hope that they do get it. I feel pretty confident that they will. Looking at Winnipeg's schedule, there's not too many teams ahead that are really going to give them trouble. They've got the Hawks, Oilers, and Ducks, and two of those games are at home, right? Once they beat, okay, maybe I shouldn't get ahead of myself, but assuming that they do beat the Hawks, right? Then they get, Edmonton and Anaheim on Sunday and Wednesday. I don't know. I've got a pretty good feeling about that. I feel like the Jets are probably getting at least 3 points this weekend. It's not like the Oilers have been invincible lately. Sure, the Jets will probably be tired, and maybe Sunday is actually a loss, but I am feeling pretty good about this. I would think that the Jets can come away with some sort of a result. And I'm hoping that, if the Jets get 3 or even 4 points this weekend, maybe, just maybe, that finally gets them to the promised land of being President's Trophy favorites. I really feel like they are this close. I know the Caps have a game in hand, but even if the Caps were to win that, the Jets still have just 1 point ahead of them. And so a couple results here, and Winnipeg can just about wrap up all of these crazy division and President's Trophy banners. Could you imagine if they pull all of that off in one season and then go on a deep playoff run? My goodness, would it be a special way to wrap up what has been a crazy season. But let me know if you think that this is going to be the year that they win the President's Trophy. Is it an award you even want? Obviously, the President's Trophy always has the President's Trophy curse. I personally don't believe in it. 30% of President's Trophy teams, I believe, have gone on to win the Cup, so it's not really that much of a curse. It's just hockey's kind of random, and, the playoff seeding structure isn't always favorable for top-end contenders, right? You face a lot of good teams much earlier sometimes than you'd expect, so I don't know if I really believe that. But personally, I hope that the Jets get all the banners, all the trophies, whatever we can add to the hardware store. Get it while you can, because tomorrow is not promised, and I think the Jets really deserve something pretty cool to hang their hats on. But let me know how you're feeling about all this. Drop your thoughts and comments below or at my social medias at HLivingLoco and at LO_Winnipeg Jets. For tonight's episode, though, that's going to be all the time that we have. Thank you so much for listening and making Locked On Jets your first listen of the day every day. We'll have a preview of the weekend's activities on tomorrow's episode, but for tonight's show, thanks for listening, have a great night, and as always, go Jets go.